Listen to my podcast about sports.
Howdy, Ags. This is AP, Corey from Tailgate, home of Aggie Football. Brought to you by Frida Homes, building Aggie dreams. FridaHomes.com. Everybody loves their Frida Homes. Don't forget to email us at agstailgate@gmail.com. Come visit us on the YouTube channel. Catch the podcast every week. Corey, we're excited to talk Aggie football.
Hell yeah, we are. I mean, 5-7, baby. Could have easily been, 3-9?
Yeah. Well,
so enjoy those 5 wins. We're on positive. We're on a positive.
We're on positive today, baby.
It's a positive show.
Aggies rule.
Exactly. Aggies rule.
Quick, last hit on recruiting for now.
Yeah.
Look, A&M is at ranking around 14, depending on who you look at. It could be 15, it could be 13.
Yeah.
They've got 17 signees. They added David Hicks on Friday. Since the last time we were on, he officially signed. Big time get. Obviously, 5-star guy. They still got one more recruit that hasn't signed. The big guy, TAMU. All right.
The one we talked about.
That gets
380?
Like 380.
Yeah, big guy.
That'll get us to a total of 18. We knew it was going to be a smaller class.
Right.
I want to emphasize one thing here, Corey, and I think, sometimes we get into sort of the ongoings of what's going on the field and all those types of things, and we've obviously been very critical of Jimbo with his play calling as well as Durkin with their play calling. But let me say this.
Well, that's all justified, though. So go ahead.
Let me say this. Really good haul for Jimbo and the staff.
Well, we expect that.
Recruiting.
If he didn't recruit like he does, why would we have him at all? What would be the point of having Jimbo Fisher if he couldn't recruit? I mean, if he can't call plays, you run off the players you do have, the top recruits, and if you can't recruit, what's the point of having Jimbo Fisher?
Yeah, and
this is something he does well. He always has.
Yeah, and I saw a post earlier today of one of these national pundits kind of guys, and they said, the difference between Jimbo at A&M and Jimbo at Florida State, the natty year, is a generational quarterback. I completely disagree with that, by the way. First of all, let's start with the fact that I don't think Jameis Winston is by any means a generational quarterback.
He was a good college quarterback.
He was a good college quarterback.
Yeah.
However, I think the difference is the fact that that team was loaded.
Yeah, lots of talent.
Right? I mean, they had NFL players at every position.
Right.
All 22 on the starting 22 were NFL guys, right?
Right.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Because Jimbo's scheme, and especially back then, was very much a product of one-on-one success by those players at times. Now, college football has evolved since then. People have done things. Defense coordinators have learned. They've changed things up to try to take things away.
Yeah.
They've evolved. Now,
has Jimbo evolved?
The coaching staff needs to continue to evolve.
Have they started to evolve? Is my question.
They've evolved.
You said continue. I haven't seen it continuing. I want to see them start to evolve.
Look.
I mean, wait, that starting evolution begins by understanding your shortcomings, and they have not done that.
Sure. And listen, we've got an entire offseason to talk schematics and different things. I want just last hit here on the recruiting side. Their biggest remaining job: keep the players on campus. Right. Keep the guys that are currently on campus.
We did get one big transfer, Grimes.
Grimes at cornerback called it.
I think I called that last one.
Well done, Corey.
Hey, I don't think we're done. I really don't think we're done. I think we're going to get some more players out of the transfer. We need them.
Yeah.
Just our depth is, we might be too deep at positions, but it's not like it was last year. I mean, last year it seemed like we were 3 deep in defensive backs. We were deep in wide receivers, and quarterback. So even running backs, we were deeper last year.
So today we're going to go through the current status of that 2023 roster. So we're going to get in depth there. But I will say this, a combination at corner of Chappelle and Grimes is a pretty darn good start.
I like it.
Biggest thing he has to do right now, keep the guys here that are already here.
Right.
Right? quick note, OC search. Look, all kinds of rumors throughout, ever since the season ended, right? There's been all these rumors, whether it's Riley, whether there was the guy at North Carolina, whether, all these names, none of them have panned out. Latest one is the offense coordinator at UW Washington,
right? Ryan
Grubb. We just got him paid.
Yeah,
we just got him paid because homeboy just got his second raise in the last year.
Yeah.
Look, that would have been an interesting choice. He led one of the best offenses in the country this year. Now, sure, they play in the Pac-12, but they were pretty good.
They throw the ball deep. I mean, I'm talking deep. That quarterback that transferred from Indiana, can't remember his name right off the top of my head. Penix. He throws the ball deep. That lefty, he's not afraid to air it out.
Yeah.
And that's something they did do at Washington.
Yeah, they gave their guys a chance to go make plays, right? Yeah. Over 40 points a game, a far cry from where the Aggies were this past season. So
forget about half of that.
So, something to think about there. But he's out. He's gotten paid over there at Washington. He wants to stick around. It was only his first year over there at Washington, by the way. So it's not a surprise that it wasn't that easy to get him out of there.
I can't even think of who's the offensive coordinator we want right now.
So now there's a rumor of a guy, Luke Heward, right? Like Heward.
Yeah.
Like the two NFL quarterbacks, Brock Heward and I can't remember the other brother, but they were two. They both played in the league. Neither one of them was great.
Right. They both went to Washington or up around that northeast.
Well, Luke is currently he's not the wide receivers coach for USC because, he's not good enough to be that.
Right.
He's the inside wide receivers coach at USC.
Huh.
But
they have an inside wide receivers coach. Like a slot?
Yeah.
Slot
receivers coach.
Wow. I like that.
But here's the thing. He worked under Jimbo here at A&M from 19 to 21 as an offensive analyst.
Right.
And prior to that, he was a co-OC at Sacramento State. They had one good year there in his 2 good years. The second year, they averaged about 24 points.
Are they talking about this guy being an offensive coordinator?
Apparently. That's a rumor. I don't think it's – look, actually, I'm going to take that statement back because I don't put it past Jimbo. I want to watch some of his old offenses, whether at Sacramento State or before that, he was at Georgia State, Illinois State. And he's a Jimbo disciple, basically.
Yeah, everything you're telling me is saying that everything's going to be the same.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
You go look at his offenses, and they're a lot like Jimbo's in the sense that
work for Jimbo.
Nice
He's
short,
do what Jimbo tells him to do.
His short passing game, the hitches, the slants, the quick, some of that stuff, and not a lot of motion, not a lot of misdirection. That's not what he's going to bring to the table. So let's hope.
I'm trying to stay positive.
Let's hope he's not the guy. He won't be the answer to this offense's issues.
No.
So let's move on from Heward and go to whoever else Jimbo's got on that list.
Let's please do.
All right. Current roster 2023.
Go.
Including the recruits, including the current transfers, the guys that have gone and the guys that have come in. Grimes. That's a one-person list.
Big transfer.
So far, look, there's still going to be some movement. Transfer portal will be active again after the spring game, right?
So it's done right now. So the transfer portal is done.
There's still a couple more weeks actually where they can enter the portal. I think until mid-January.
Okay, because I don't know all the rules on that. I'm not sure how that works out.
It was a 45-day window.
All right.
So they still got a little bit more time till about mid-January, and there may be some movement as far as guys going out, but probably not that much, right? Most of the guys that were leaving have probably already said so.
That's what we hope.
To this point.
That's what we're hoping, right?
That's what we're hoping.
Because we haven't heard any of the Johnsons leave.
Right. And Anthony Lucas, a guy that was one of the suspended players, is still the one guy that's still here, hasn't announced anything. I think he also is the guy that has gotten a ton of playing time, even as close to being a starter at the early part of the season as maybe any of these guys.
But Moose hadn't said anything.
No.
So, this is all positives.
These are positive things, right? So that's what we said. That's why we said earlier his biggest job now, keep the guys on campus.
Right.
So now there will be movement after spring. We're hoping that we're not losing anybody between here and then,
right?
But you don't know.
No.
There will be movement after spring because guys are going to find out, hell, they're the third string guy They're this and
that makes sense.
And some of those guys will probably step away.
We had a couple defensive guys last year do that. The defensive end.
Darius Jones, by the way, joined the transfer portal. A guy that is a third-year guy. That's going to be one of the older defensive linemen.
Yeah.
Now he's fallen behind. Right. He didn't get a ton of playing time this past year.
Which that's expected. Though.
So that's expected. That's the kind of guy you expect in the transfer portal.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll find a home somewhere and go get playing time. It might not be.
He'll probably go to Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech, for example.
He'll be a starter. They're taking all their scrubs.
He'll be a starter.
Oh, I said scrubs. I'm sorry. Positive day.
Yeah. No. So we got to start here with what we've got. In spite of all the guys we've lost.
Yeah.
In spite of all the guys we've lost, and we're going to go through this group, position by position.
Yeah.
There is a ton of talent at every position on campus today.
Right.
The issue that's currently present is depth.
Okay.
Right? Because you take some of those freshman guys that have left, Denver Harris, Smoke, those guys, right?
Right.
And they were going to be the guys when Jalen Jones, when Richardson, when Anais left, that they provided that next level of depth for this team, right? It's not that we don't have guys to take the starting spot. Right. It's the guys that we don't have the guys that come in behind them for that second spot.
Well, we had a bunch of injuries last year, and depth was huge.
Yeah.
Especially linebacker. Secondary, as much depth as we had, it got pretty thin.
It did at times,
right? It got really thin. And then even at wide receiver, we thought we had a lot of depth there. People started getting in trouble. Guys got hurt. Before you know it, our receiving core were like. And so the
story out there, there's sort of two trains of thoughts out there when folks are talking about the Aggies. The national pundits, one, but also our own fan base.
Right.
And the two trains of thoughts are this. Everybody in the national sort of media is, making it like the world's over. We've fallen off the cliff. 24 transfers. The program has lost it, right? That's one side of the story.
Right.
On the other side of the story, a lot of the Aggie fan base is sort of going the other way. None of these guys, a little bit of spin, right?
They're not Aggies.
None of these guys started. Really.
They were a cancer in the locker room.
Or they were a cancer.
Yeah.
Because some of these guys did start. Marshall, Delier, White. These guys all started, right?
Right.
And nobody's going to say Delier or White were a cancer, so those are losses, right? But, with Harris and Marshall and those guys, they'll say that. But the point being is that the storyline that they're trying to put forward is we still have a ton of players on this roster that are extremely talented, and none of these guys were really going to be starters going forward. Well,
I don't know about that.
I don't know that that's a true
Marshall
story.
Probably would have been a starter.
But the truth of the matter is that
Harris.
Yeah, I mean Harris was going to eventually be a starter on this campus. He's going to end up. He's going to LSU. Marshall going to Ole Miss. Yeah. Last week we talked about TCU.
Ole Miss. I like the TCU.
I really thought the TCU thing was better. Everybody was crystal balling him over there.
Yeah,
but he ended up with Lane at Ole Miss, which. Yeah. Look, they've done a good job of getting receivers in the league.
Yeah, I guess.
So, but the issue that we're going to have is then not really talent, the top end talent. It's the depth.
Right.
That's a program that builds through recruiting and does those things and has that depth.
Okay.
Right, and in the SEC, that's a big thing.
Huge. Yeah, I mean we have as much talent as. Almost every team in the SEC, and that's saying a lot. I mean, there's only Georgia and Alabama probably have more talent than we do.
And I'd say top end talent, we're probably right there.
Oh, we're right there.
I mean, Georgia's going to take on Smoke, right?
Yeah.
And he's a guy that here was, a good player, but he wasn't the best cornerback on the field.
No.
Right? At Georgia, he's going to end up being an NFL draft pick.
Well, that's just what they do.
Because Kirby Smart is the best that there is in developing secondary players.
Yeah, he's developing their players, and that's what they're doing. That's what Jimbo needs to work on. That's what he needs to be more of the CEO of the team instead of the play caller. Because that way he can see that, see where the development's going. Maybe he can pay attention to the offensive line, what they're doing right and wrong, and what plays to call.
So I think we need to be the truth is somewhere in the middle. And I think what fans for the Aggies right now need to understand is it's not time to jump off the bridge.
No.
But it's also time to understand that it does have an effect.
Right.
It does have an effect but it's not time to jump off the bridge. It's
No.
somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. You just stand right there on the edge of the bridge. You're right there. You're not jumping yet.
No. Back a couple of spaces back.
Back up a little bit.
Just take a couple of steps back.
Yeah.
And let's reevaluate this. And so now let's start with the offense.
All right, go ahead.
And when we talk offense, we always got to start quarterback. So quarterback is number one.
We're solid.
Everybody feels really good about Connor Wigman, right?
Yeah. Well, we felt good last year coming in with Haynes King.
Did we feel as good with Haynes King as we did with Connor Wigman?
No. I thought Connor should have been the starter all year. I said that to you over and over. I said that since he hit the campus. The most talented guy coming in, one of the top quarterbacks in the nation. Let's get him in there. Let's get his feet wet.
I would have agreed with you if we could have simplified the offense and let the guy play.
Yeah, if we could have there's just too many options. Jimbo was overthinking the position. He had Haynes King, Max, and Connor. And this year you have that many freshmen. You're trying to give playing time to all of them. Well, I think you didn't give playing time to the right one.
Yeah.
Especially against games that didn't matter as much, which ended up mattering.
Early in the season?
Exactly. I mean, you put him in there against App State. Yeah, you lose that game. Well, you got a freshman quarterback. He's learning. He's sitting on the bench against App State. He's not learning a thing. I mean, you could tell by the mechanics with Haynes and Max's, Max's delivery I thought was better than Haynes, but Haynes' delivery was off. He needs some more coaching. That's just my thought. That's my thought. I've said it all year.
Let me tell you something, though. Let me tell you something about ultimately what makes a good quarterback. And you can go take a look at in the pros. Many of these guys get drafted because of all their, athletic ability and their talent and their arm strength and all those things, and then they go flame out.
Well, there's 100. Everybody's.
And yet there's some like
Josh Allen,
that he didn't have all those things coming out. He had all the talent, but he didn't have the consistency as far as his throwing accuracy. And what they did for him is, if you make a quarterback comfortable about where he's going with the football, all of a sudden he delivers a better ball.
Right.
Where he's not thinking, where he knows exactly where he's going with it, now he delivers a better ball because his feet are set, his arm is set, his mind is set, right? He's confident.
It's coaching, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and it's coaching. So that's the first progression. Get the guy comfortable with what he's doing, because the more he's comfortable, the better he's going to throw the football.
I agree with you. So Connor, I believe that I think we're set right now.
Yeah.
For as long as he stays healthy and our offensive line stays healthy, Connor is good.
Look, and here's the one thing that I want to be very careful of with Wigman. I don't want to put so much pressure on him. Don't make him the savior.
No,
right?
Not at all.
Everybody wants to talk about, hey, look, we've got the savior. Like that comment that was made about Jameis Winston.
Right.
A generational quarterback. Blah, blah, blah. No, he wasn't. Right? But here's the thing. If you put that kind of pressure on Connor to be a generational quarterback,
right, I'm not doing that.
Then all of a sudden, I think you're gonna hurt him more than you're gonna help him.
I agree.
Right?
I mean,
take the pressure off.
Yeah, I'm not putting any pressure. If he doesn't win 10 games, he sucks. But I mean, I'm not putting any pressure on the guy. That's all I expect from him.
To me, he's got lots of weapons around him that are going to help him become that generational type quarterback.
Gotcha. Yeah, and we have a few weapons. What's your next position?
Well, before we go to the next position, Connor Wigman. Connor Wigman's the key, obviously, as the starter and everything else.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing. We got 3 guys right now on the depth chart, scholarship guys, with Johnson and the freshman Reed. That's a perfect situation.
Okay.
An experienced backup who can come in, finish a game,
and
whatever he needs to do, and a freshman that's learning behind him and in 2 years can try to take the reins.
And that freshman understands his place on the team.
He does.
He knows he's not coming in and going to be the starter. Like Connor last year, there was a 3-way competition. This year, it's Connor's job to lose. Max is the clear backup, and third string is the freshman.
And in that process, though, you got to keep telling that freshman, it's like, look, he's only got 2 years, and he's going to be in the NFL.
Well, that's not putting pressure on
That's when you get to take the reins, because Johnson's going to be gone.
Yeah.
Right? He's going to be finished.
Right.
So you got to explain to him, right now you're sitting in that third spot, but the reality is you're the next one to take this team.
Do you think Max Johnson's comfortable being the backup?
Well, and that's my point. Right now, that's a perfect situation. The key here, keeping Johnson.
Yeah.
And if he stays, he knows he's the backup, right?
Well, he has to know that right now. He has to know that at the end of the last season. It should have been told to him by the coach.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going ahead with Connor. You're the backup. Are you comfortable with that? If not, please let us know. You know what I'm saying? That's the conversation I would have had. Please let us know If not, we can move forward. Go ahead. We don't want to drag this out. But if he's I'm thinking he had that conversation with him already.
Look, let me know, man. I want to do everything I can for you. If you want to go somewhere else, let me help you find a home. But here's the thing: if you want to stay, if you want to be a future coach, if you want to be an Aggie graduate who gets all the benefits of being an Aggie graduate, by the way, that Aggie ring.
Right.
If you want all those things, let me know. Stick around and let's get those for you, right?
Exactly.
Because you have a great future. You're a smart guy with a lot of football knowledge and the ability to do those things. But right now, we need you here as a backup. Let me know if that's good.
That's exactly the conversation they should have already had with him. And that's why I feel...
If they did it, it's too late.
I'm kind of on the fence. I'm about 70% saying that Max is going to stay, and 30% he might go, because I can't imagine he's going into the thought I'm going to be the starter next year.
I can't imagine that he won't enter the transfer portal in the next 2 weeks if he's going to enter it. I don't think he waits till
I don't see why you would have
till the spring, right? Because he wants to be somewhere already for the spring,
right?
So that he can learn the system and do all those things.
Yes.
Now the question may be, does he need a couple more credit hours to graduate, and therefore
be a grad transfer?
Be a grad transfer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's the one thing that I'd want to know too. Because if that's the case, then I could see it happening. Now,
let's say Max transfers out. What do? You hit the transfer portal?
I mean,
there's a lot of quarterbacks out there. There's one that just hit the thing today with the Wake Forest quarterbacks going to the portal.
But he's not coming here. He's going somewhere.
Nah, he's got to play. He's going somewhere.
So what you would have to do then is go find somebody that's got enough reps that you can bring him in as a solid backup. But all he's really doing is holding the clipboard and helping the other guy practice, right?
Yeah.
You don't expect him to go play games and win games for you. You expect him to be a part of that depth chart, to be able to practice, to be able to do the things you need as a backup.
Like a Zach Calzada. I'm just saying.
Like a Zach Calzada who's not coming back.
Why not?
Well, I think we all know why.
We'll see.
All right, so quarterback currently good. I think in the next 2 weeks, we probably find out a lot about where Max Johnson sits.
Yeah.
And ultimately, keeping him is a big part of keeping that quarterback room stable.
Right. But as long as we have Connors at the beginning, that's the start. Keep him healthy, keep him upright, and we can move forward.
That is the start.
All right.
Running back.
Yep.
4 guys. All right. Daniels, Moss, Owens, Crownover. I think we know where Crownover sits. He's a guy that is going to be the fullback.
Yeah.
He can get you some reps in the backfield with a couple of carries here and there, but he's not going to be the feature guy.
No.
Those other 3 are going to be the feature guys.
Right.
Unlike last year where, it was going to be A-Chain 90% or 99%.
Yeah.
Should have been probably closer to 70%.
Right.
Here we've got a situation where we could probably have a good split, a Spiller A-Chain type look, right?
Yeah.
Also done by Fisher in different times over at Florida State with different guys. Daniels, I think, is probably still maybe your first guy. I don't know if Moss overtakes him in the offseason as your primary.
I don't know much about that Owens kid, the freshman kid. I mean, we saw what Mississippi did this year. They put a freshman in. He led the SEC in rushing.
Hey, that's
if you're that good, the thing about running backs, their longevity is not that long.
Right.
Even in the NFL, it's like one of the shortest paths of any of your careers being a running back. 5-6 years, you're out.
Hey, you're absolutely correct. If he's a guy like that,
yeah.
And he shows that from day one,
yeah.
Maybe he is the guy that takes over. I'll tell you this, from looking at him and what I saw from his film, I think he still needs to bulk up a little bit more.
Right.
But he's got all the tools.
Right.
He's got all the tools. The vision, the ability to see the hole, to set up plays, to set up blocks, things that normally young running backs still haven't quite developed.
Right.
He's pretty advanced in that sense. So could he overtake these other 2 guys? For sure. For sure. But all we heard all year about was how great Moss has looked, right?
Right.
How great Moss has looked, this and that. Now on the field, as I watched him in game,
yeah.
He's a good. He looked like he has the potential to be a good running back, but he definitely wasn't there.
No,
he wasn't there last year.
Well, we didn't see it. He didn't get the reps. I don't think him or Daniels either one got the reps that I thought they should have gotten. Just even in any game. A-Chain's carrying the ball. We only carried the ball 20
in the games
times
in the games that A-Chain missed is really where we saw him the most. Right.
Yeah.
And even then, I didn't think that he was overwhelming. Right.
No.
So. I think he's got that potential.
Right.
But he still has to learn some of those things that Owens sort of shows a natural instinct for, right?
Right.
He still has to learn some of that set the block up. He still has to learn. Now, he may be a little bit more powerful, by the way, than Owens.
So, what you're saying with our running back, we're taking quarterback, we're going to be up a little bit from last year just because Connor has a year of experience.
Yeah.
And running back, we're going to take a step down because you can't replace A-Chain.
No, you're not going to replace A-Chain in year one.
I'm just trying to figure out where
I will tell you this. A guy that I like a lot is, and I did going into last year, was Daniels. I thought Daniels would be the A-Chain to A-Chain spiller, right?
Right.
And as the year went along, you started to see some of that when he got carries.
At the end of the year?
At the end of the year.
Right.
He just didn't get any carries early, right? Yeah. I thought he had an opportunity to do some of those things. I think he can come back this year and be one of those guys. With him on the field, I feel very comfortable. Now, he might end up being the second back to one of the other two if one of those other two really takes a step forward.
Yeah. But, I mean, I'm just saying overall, I just want to make sure everybody understands we're up on the quarterbacks from last year. We think we're going to be improved. Running backs will take just a slight dip, but not much of one. It's not. I mean, A-Chain's great.
He's going to take a step. We're going to take a step back.
Yeah, but I think by committee we're going
to. We have the opportunity to do some really good things. And I'll tell you this: the thing about Daniels to me is that he also adds that go out into the slot and go play. Can do some things out and catch the ball, right?
Yeah.
And so a guy like that gives you another weapon in that sense. If you want to have two of these guys on the field at the same time,
right?
All right, so running back, we're okay now. We have no feeling that any one of these guys is going to leave.
No.
It's going to be fine next year.
Right.
Slight step back, but it's expected after losing A-Chain.
Right.
Wide receiver, 6 guys. Now, mind you, those 6 do not include Anais Smith. Okay. So 6 is still a pretty small number for scholarship wide receivers on a D1.
What do you think Anais will do? Where are you at on Anais? 50-50? He's gone?
50-50.
Okay. That's not bad. I'll take that right now.
I'd take 50-50.
I'll take 50-50 right now.
And if he decides to come back, you know how I already love Anais. I mean, I'll marry the guy.
So let's just say for now, Anais isn't coming back.
Yeah.
Just for what we're doing.
Let's keep him off.
But you have?
We got Muhammad.
Good.
Stewart.
Good.
Thomas.
Okay.
Preston.
Whoa.
Yeah.
7th year? 8th year? What is he?
Preston.
Doctor?
Yeah, maybe. Jackson, who hadn't gotten any playing time, but he's a big old kid, 6'6", big time guy. And T's the freshman, right?
Yeah.
We got a little battery issue going on over here with the computer.
Okay.
So this is what we're going to have to do. Looking at these wide receivers, we gotta start looking at depth because the high end, top end quality is definitely there with Moose, Stewart, Thomas, those guys, right? Jackson's got to come in. I think Preston's a great piece to all this.
Man, we've talked about Preston for years, and he has one huge game like LSU 2 years ago, but now it's...
You see that plug right there?
Yeah.
The top one?
Yep. You were ready to shut him up, bud.
Yep. While you plug that in, I'm going to continue talking about these wide receivers, but if you go over there and plug it in over there and try to plug it in on the computer, that'd be great so we don't die. So, as we look at that with these guys, I think we have a lot of confidence in what that first group can do. And I guess the one situation in which Jimbo's ways of never replacing the wide receivers, right? He likes to keep the same 3 on the field at all times. Maybe that helps. Because that means that those 3 guys are going to get the majority of those reps. And really it's those 4 because you add Preston into that conversation. Now, Jackson does provide something that these other guys don't.
Size.
Yeah. Like
big
big target to go throw it up to, right?
Yeah, like that kid from Florida State.
He wasn't a 5-star recruit, but he was a high 3-star recruit.
Neither was a nice.
No 4-star recruit, right?
Yeah.
He's a guy that has some tools,
right?
And just hasn't had the opportunity to get any time on the field with this group. He's 3 years in now, though. Experience with the offense. We don't know exactly if it's going to be the same offense, but he's got experience, with the quarterbacks. Connor, he spent some time with him, with Johnson as well.
Right.
Either way, he's going to have to be a guy that steps up and is ready to get on the field, right?
Okay. No, I agree. And now my same question to you: is our wide receiver room better or worse than last year?
It's worse because at
You
the end of
lost
the day, you don't have the same level of depth with Price, Marshall, those guys. Anias obviously would be a big loss.
So
as
we're
well.
up on quarterback, down on running back, down on receiver.
The one thing I will say though, I don't think there's any way that Jimbo somehow keeps Moose off the field.
He can't. He might wear sleeves.
So
he wears the sleeves. Put him out there.
Yeah. So here's
his hands.
So that's the one thing. Stewart's going to be a year in.
Yeah.
He's going to be better.
Right.
The offseason and everything else is going to help him. He's going to be closer to being that stud that we've expected from him.
Mm-hmm.
Moose is already, I think, there as long as they give him those opportunities. How does Noah Thomas develop in that next year? Coming off a year where he got some playing time.
He got a lot of playing time. He was starting games. So the next group of guys we're about to talk about, I think, is going to be key too.
All right. So the wide receivers we feel okay about. We think especially our high end talent. Is
right.
Top end. Right.
And I think Connor getting an extra year to get those wide receivers the ball, and he showed it this year towards the end. He can get the ball out to him.
Yeah. And exactly, with a guy that's able to get him the ball and get him the ball where they can make plays.
Right.
Not quite to the group where you're about to talk about.
Okay.
Tight ends.
That's what I was talking about.
Oh. This is where
wide
I think
receivers, tight ends go hand in hand to me.
Yeah. 6 tight ends. Now, let me tell you, 5 tight ends, sorry. Green, Johnson, Mellon Ostrom, Platt, and Garcia. Platt, the freshman.
Okay.
Look, I'll tell you this. Depth and talent level, I think, are through the roof here. Through the roof.
I disagree with you on that one. The reason being, I see Green up here.
Yeah.
And I think there's a significant drop-off because I didn't see Johnson on the field last year as much as I thought I was going to. I didn't see the Aussie that we talked about being out there.
The
Swede. I mean. Yeah, and then a lot of the guys, like Max, stepped up last year. I was really surprised how well he played.
Well, I think that was part of the reason you maybe didn't see those other 2 freshmen as much, because especially Johnson.
Yeah.
Because Max was such a vital part. I think he was an underrated part of this offense.
But Max started the season off on the bench because he was hurt. Then he came back and got hurt again. We still didn't see Johnson that much. That's the part.
And so my question was he trying to...
We saw Blake
Smith.
Blake Smith come in.
And that's my question. Was he trying to hold some of those red shirts, so that, because, Green's a guy that's probably looking towards a 3-year and done kind of situation.
Green has that kind of talent. I think he's one of the most talented guys on our offensive side of the ball right now that I saw last year. Just his size, his speed, his hands. He's good. He's better than Wademeyer right now.
Yeah, already. He was a better blocker the day he stepped on the field.
He's better.
Campus.
I think if we keep going where we're going, I think tight ends are up for next year.
Yeah.
I mean, Max Wright hurts losing him, but I think what you're saying about Johnson, the Swede, those guys coming in, it got more optimism for the tight ends.
And so to me, this is the big point here because we may lack some depth at wide receiver, but with the tight ends, if we can use all these guys, including a guy like Garcia, by the way, who's been on campus a couple of years and hadn't really seen the field at all, but he's a big body guy that can definitely do some blocking and some things on that end.
Maybe a Max Wright type, huh?
Maybe a Max Wright type, right? And use these guys. Then all of a sudden you can have 2 and 3 tight end sets at times to take some pressure off the wide receivers, get some of those guys off the field, give them a break,
I'm about to slap you. Why do you're going with schemes that Jimbo's not going to do? We talked about it all last year.
Jimbo's used 2 tight ends.
2. You said 3. You just said 3.
Well, I'm getting out there.
Okay, I'm just saying. Go ahead.
But my point is, you've got, while wide receiver is not a depth, we have some depth issues at wide receiver.
Yeah.
We can offset those issues at times by using more 2 tight end, more 2 back sets with guys that we have on the field that we feel really good about. Really good about at tailback, really good about at tight end, and only using 2 receivers at a time, for example.
I called us getting a UNC cornerback.
Yeah.
We will get a wide receiver in the transfer portal. It's not going to be a huge name, but it'll be a solid name that'll give us watch it. I'm not sure who it is yet. I've been scrolling the transfer portal. I see some guys that might fit.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. As a matter of fact, I completely agree with you. I think you're probably also looking at a linebacker at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. But we'll get into some more of that. But I think as we look at this roster where it is today, I think we're in really good shape at tight end.
I do too.
To start with, because of Green and what you said about him and the talent level that he brings, And I think Johnson's going to start to show a lot of those same qualities coming in next year.
I think you're going to see a lot of Connor to Green touchdown connections. It wouldn't surprise me. It's bold statement here. Green leads the SEC in touchdowns next year.
Ooh, that's real bold.
Well, he's gonna be he's like one of those Georgia tight ends. He's a big, fast, athletic.
One of those Georgia tight ends, I think, is coming back. So
That's sick.
he's only a sophomore.
Sick. Bowers.
Yeah.
God, he's sick.
All right, so we feel good about the tight end position. Offensive line. Here's where we got lots of bodies. 20 guys on the offensive line. The deepest group on the roster, and I think that even now with the departures on defensive line, that probably even goes for defensive line. All 5 returning starters.
As of right now.
Zune, Dewberry, Foster, Robinson, Fothery, assuming that you consider Foster the starter or Wyckoff, whatever. They're both coming back, mind you. All 5 of those guys, unless Robinson decides to go to the NFL, which he should not. Let's be clear. He should not, because his draft status went from
high to
first
nothing.
rounder
to not
borderline first rounder to
We saw it happen with Watermeyer, right? Jalen Watermeyer, the tight end, he was a first round projected, had a crappy season, said I'm going pro anyway, and didn't get drafted.
So Robinson by no means should leave.
Learn, Robinson, learn.
He should not leave, and especially because I think people recognize that he's got the talent level, so he can bring his draft status back up to a second round level by just having a good season next year.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
There's no reason for him
that
to
whole
leave.
right side of the line should be solid with Robinson, Fothery coming back. That should be, you shouldn't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
The left side, Zune's a freshman going into a sophomore year.
But he's a redshirt freshman going into redshirt sophomore
but
year.
still, he should get better. The whole offensive line should take a step
Dewberry,
up. Yeah.
who I thought played really well, probably better than the 2 guys that started at guard.
Foster.
So let's go position by position, because at left tackle, you're probably talking a Zune.
Yep.
Right?
Oh,
Which you think is going to improve, right? He's going to get better from last year.
He's got to get better.
The big crown over coming in and getting some reps there. He got some playing time as sort of the tight end, run,
the
heavy package tight end.
Right.
But he's really a tackle. Maybe Aggie moves out to that spot because he's going to end up being sort of caught between 3 different guys at guard, right?
Or maybe Aggie moves on. Go ahead.
Or maybe...
Sorry, Aggie, you're not...
But that's a guy that, honestly, after spring, seeing where he's at, he could very easily decide to hit the board. That's a very good example.
I mean, depth is always important, but it's having depth and having a guy like Aggie come in that just looks at a place.
Yeah.
The whole offensive line.
He doesn't look out of place. He plays out of place.
Yeah, the communication's not there. I mean, you see the freshman come in, and he communicates with the rest of the line. They look like they're moving together. Aggie comes in, the rest of the line's moving, and he's
lost.
Yeah, it's just.
And then you have another guy, Luke Williams, who's a young guy that's there. He's never going to be a starter for this team, but he can provide depth. So good depth at left tackle, and I think the development of Zune
is huge.
Is going to be huge.
Yeah, that blind side,
At left guard, we had a guy that unexpectedly ended up having to take over midseason in Dewberry.
Did great,
and I think the experience that he got last year is going to serve us very well this year at left guard.
He looked the most natural of any left guard we had in there, and especially with you watching him and telling me about it.
Oh, yeah.
And I just picked up some of the stuff you were talking about. I was like, yeah, he looks a lot better.
And with Moko as a backup, I think you're solid.
Right.
You're real solid at that spot. And you got other names. Nabu played a little bit last year because of injury.
Right.
He was a freshman true freshman last year, right? You got the incoming freshman, Shanahan, that's going to come in there and give you some depth as these guys keep progressing, right? Mm-hmm. So there's not only quality, there's quality and depth at that position right now. The coaching needs to catch up to the quality of player.
Right.
Center, Foster and Wyckoff. You don't get better experience than those 2 guys with what we've had here the last 2 years.
Exactly. No, I agree with you. And that's something we talked about, debated about last year. If Foster came back, should Wyckoff still be center? Should Foster move to guard? You remember we debated on that, and it wasn't much of a debate because they didn't listen to us.
No, a lot of pundits, a lot of A&M fans are all on this fence that are on this in the position that they say, well, Wyckoff was part of the problem with the offensive line last year. Mm. Those guys know nothing of offensive line play and obviously did not watch this group play offensive line. Was Wyckoff perfect? No.
Right.
Was he the same as Foster? Pretty much. Sometimes better in different things. But let me just say this. Either one of those two guys can be a very, very good center and starter in the SEC for this offense.
Right.
Either one of those two guys can. So when we talk about 1A, 1B, there's no differentiation there.
And a lot of this offensive line play calling was huge killer for this offensive line.
True.
If you and I talked about it before, if the defense knows what you're going to run, you're at a huge disadvantage.
Yeah.
If you got 5 offensive linemen, your tight ends going out, your running backs are going out, and you got 6 guys coming, there's 5, the math just doesn't add up.
Oh, yeah.
And the quarterbacks aren't getting rid of the ball quick enough, or the receivers aren't getting open fast enough.
And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of that, and there was also some technical issues, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
Technique they struggled with technique, especially on the interior.
I'm just saying play calling didn't help the offensive line out much at all. Except towards the end of the season when we ran the ball more, which I thought should have happened a long time ago.
Which is one of the reasons we were better later, right?
Exactly.
But at center, we feel good about the players that are sitting there.
Yes.
We feel good about that.
Yes.
And they've got some depth behind that with Strickland that's still on campus and still doing some things, and he's also part of that class, right?
Right.
So he's another guy and another body. Right guard, we talked about it. Robinson's got to come back.
Yeah.
He's got to come back.
But if he doesn't, obviously you got Moko that played on the left side the last year. He can switch over. You still have the Foster Wyckoff thing we talked about possibly.
But if Robinson sticks around, the freshman Besantis all of a sudden becomes a guy that gets to learn in there and be ready to step in.
I like it.
Because that dude is going to be a player. Right? He's the guy that we talked about, has that mean streak, goes after dudes. Yeah. He's got an opportunity to be an all-SEC type offensive lineman with the right coaching and development.
Heard it here.
And they've got more depth there. They still got the other freshman, Bertrand and Chibuzo, who's been on campus for a couple of years, right? Sabra, who's been on campus. So they've got depth. Those guys will never be starters on this team. They may be guys that end up moving on after the spring. But you've got a good group, a solid group.
Gotcha. Right
tackle, the last of the positions offensively. Fothery has all the tools to be a first-round draft pick.
I just look at the guy on the field. You're just looking at a pro tackle right there. Just the size, the mobility. He's just got to put it all together. He's got to come in every down and not take plays off.
Correct.
And but
he took a step back this year from his freshman year. His freshman year, he was playing at a very, very high level, especially as the year went on. Towards the second half of the season, heck, even the game against Alabama, I mean, he played so well.
Gotcha.
And then this past year, he took a step back under the new coaching, offensive line coach, right?
Right.
So Adazio didn't do him any favors. Obviously, something was missed in what was going on there between
Is Adazio still there?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Between the coach and the player. But the dude is as talented as they come, and there's talented depth behind him.
Yep.
Hunter Urban right behind him. That's a guy that came in with a lot of cred coming out of high school.
Okay.
And then the freshman from this year, Thomason, another guy that comes in with a very high reputation.
Right.
So not only do you have quality, a guy with 2 years of starting experience, basically, you got guys behind him ready to get in and play.
And that's what I like about it. That's what we're doing. I like getting 4 or 5 offensive linemen every year to replenish what you're losing. That way, when the Fothery, Robinson do move on, it's not a huge loss. It's still a loss. It's not huge. But my overall take on the offensive line is we got to be up, right?
Yeah.
So we're up at offensive line. We're up at tight end. We're up at quarterback. We're down a little bit at wide receiver, down a little bit at running back.
And then wide receiver questions are depth, right?
Yeah. And overall, we got to be better than next year, right?
This offense has an opportunity to be as talented as they come.
Yes.
If the scheme matches.
Yeah. If everybody plays up to their potential, which they should with good coaching. But, I mean, I don't see why we shouldn't be better next year.
And we'll get more news on that.
And that's what we expected coming into
right?
this year. Last year, if people heard us in the past, a lot of freshmen, a young team, we lost some players. I wasn't expecting a lot last year, but everybody else was. I expected more than 5 wins. But next year, I think will be the year I really expected us to Connor's second year. The offensive line's getting older, healthier. Wide receivers, running backs. Running backs, A-Chain losing him, but tight ends. I think next year is going to be a good year. Go ahead.
Corey, today we get to introduce something new here to the show. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is my go-to when betting on the NFL this holiday season. I love the daily fantasy stuff.
Yep.
I will play that stuff as often and as much as I can.
Yep.
I love the easy and fast payouts on all that stuff, right? It's amazing. It's amazing. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do.
What?
Check this out. Right now, everyone can earn up to 100% boost with DraftKings stepped up same game parlays. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, place the same game parlay, combine multiple bets like which team will win, player props, point totals, and more. The more legs you add, the bigger the boost, the bigger your shot to win big. You gotta love those like 18 parlays. You bet like $30 to win $3,000. You know?
Yeah. 30.
I'm a huge fan of the DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the code TPPN. Place a $5 bet on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code TPPN.
Got it.
TPPN.
TPPN.
All right, Corey. First of all, we love DraftKings.
Let's do it.
We're going to move on to the defense.
All right, ready.
All right, we're going to start with the defensive line. And specifically, we're going to go to the defensive tackle. And I've done something
with the money position, huh?
Yeah, and I've done a little something different here with how we're going to talk about this defensive line.
Do it.
In the sense that I've separated based off of what Durkin did a lot this past year.
3-man front.
And so I'm bringing defensive tackles, but I'm going to separate those obviously from the defensive ends. I'm also going to talk about a separate group, the defensive end, defensive tackle hybrid.
Okay.
I'm also going to talk about a defensive end linebacker hybrid. Both things that Durkin did some last year. So let's start with defensive tackle Jackson. It's a pure DTs.
Oh yeah.
McKinley Jackson. Let me start there.
He might be All-American this year.
Walter Nolan, Brunlo Dindy, Rakes,
Love it.
Regis, Johnson, Overton, and Samu.
Wait. You put Overton at DT?
The older brother.
Okay, sorry. I was thinking of
the older brother.
I was thinking of the hybrid.
Yeah. Older brother.
Sorry.
So look, this group right there. Think about the group right here. Jackson, Nolan, Brunlo Dindy, Rakes, and Regis. Just there. Deep. That is ridiculous.
It's our deepest position on the field.
I mean, everybody's talking about the last year's freshmen and sort of all that, with Nolan, Brunlo Dindy, and the impact that those guys can have.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, this defense became a different defense when McKinley Jackson stepped on the field last year, and now he's going to have one more year behind his belt.
Yeah.
I am excited for a healthy McKinley Jackson from day one.
I'm right there with you, brother. I mean, you put McKinley Jackson. We saw the difference he made once he got on the field. That motor doesn't stop. I mean, he's 320-some pounds running the play down 10, 15, 20 yards past the line of scrimmage. You know what I'm saying? He's going back. He's chasing balls.
There was a game he led this defense in tackles.
That's crazy.
That's crazy from the defensive tackle spot.
That's crazy.
I really believe, and you go into and read what everybody's talking about with this group and everything else, and a lot of people are impressed by the talent, and they so quickly forget about McKinley Jackson. I think he's probably your defensive MVP next year.
I think he's up there, but I've got another one in mind. But go ahead.
Defensive tackle. We feel very strongly about this group.
Very.
Let's make sure we're putting them on the field.
Oh, well, what do you mean? Just one at a time, or?
Yeah. All right. So now, before we go to defensive ends, sort of pure defensive ends, let's go a little hybrid defensive tackle defensive end. And I think there's 4 guys that sort of fit this mold.
I think there's 2.
Turner.
Yeah, Turner's got to.
Hicks, the freshman coming in.
Sure.
Stewart,
that was the one I was thinking.
And I think Lucas can jump into this mix. He's growing.
Okay.
All right? Let me tell you something. I think Turner is a guy that's a starter on this defensive line. I think he's a stud. And I think he's a stud because he allows you to do a lot of different things depending on where you put them.
I mean, you put Turner and Stewart on the ends, and you put Jackson and Nolan in the middle right there.
How's everybody running the football?
That's the NFL line right there, just about. I mean, you're talking 300 pounds almost per guy.
Yeah.
I mean, they might not get the kind of pressure you want on the edge, but they're going to push that pocket. I don't care who you are. They're pushing that pocket.
And if you're sitting there thinking, oh, okay, it's first down. What are these guys going to do? Why wouldn't you let those guys get out there? Right? Those guys are gonna take away that problem we had last year of allowing 300 yards a game rushing.
We killed ourselves with that.
Yeah.
Coaching overthought it. We said at the beginning of the season, don't overthink this defense. Line them up, go play. And he overthought it. Did a 3-man front, 6, 7 defensive backs, something stupid, and a linebacker out of position.
You got to think between that group of defensive tackles and that group that we named sort of as that hybrid inside-out guy.
Yeah.
Between those guys alone, you should be able to put a stop to the run.
Oh, yeah.
Between those guys alone.
Yeah.
Just get those guys on the field.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to a second year of Nolan and Brunlow Dindy. Really his first
They're
year
going to get
actual
bigger,
playing time.
stronger. I mean, look at the guys that from their freshman to sophomore year, then their sophomore to junior year. They get so much bigger and stronger, and it's just going to be amazing to watch these guys grow.
I don't know that you can get more excited about a group of one position than you can about this group. Because not only is it this high-end talent, but I think McKinley Jackson adds not only that, he adds the experience and the leadership that really gets you excited about what these guys are going to do as a group.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I'm way up on the defensive line.
Way up.
On just defensive tackles. That's not even getting to the end yet.
We haven't even got to the ends. So let's talk about the guys that we think are sort of pure ends.
Yeah.
Diggs.
That's the guy.
Overton.
Yeah.
Scarlett, a guy that's going to be sitting in the background.
Yeah.
A depth guy. But we'll get into the hybrid defensive end linebackers, and you'll see why there's not a lot of names on this list. But look, Diggs at the beginning of the year with McKinley Jackson now was probably one of our top defenders outside of Antonio Johnson.
And Adelia, I think. But that's just – but, yeah, Diggs, he's my preseason. That would be my pick because I think he can do something that we didn't have last year, and that's put pressure on the quarterback. Yeah. That's going to be his job next year. And I think he might be in more of that hybrid class.
That's close to it because he does drop him off sometimes as well.
That's what But, Diggs.
And he did it with Overton, but Overton's getting so big, he should be a straight defensive end.
But, Diggs did all this without Jackson on the field.
Yeah.
When Jackson's on the field. Jackson and Nolan are on.
They're going to take more of those inside blockers. He's going to have a little bit more freedom on the outside come next year.
Yeah, he might be facing more running backs than he is tackles. You know what I'm saying? So
I do expect for him to have an even better year. Look, he took a big step forward last year from obviously not getting on the field much even before that. But he also started to perform. You saw him started to stand out a little bit, make plays. Right. And then he got hurt.
Yeah, very early.
And then he got hurt.
Yep.
And so now it's going to be a matter of let's get him healthy again. Another guy that can be a leader because he's been on campus for 3 years. Right? This is going to be his 4th year.
Yep.
Right? He's going to be a guy that can now bring everybody else along. Like, this is how you do this, right?
It's time to shine.
And those other guys might be more high-end talent, but they have to develop the work ethic and the different things that he already has.
Right, I agree.
Overton's another guy that showed quite a bit last year. He's a guy that coming off the edge sometimes was able to make some things happen. He ended up playing a lot of linebacker, really.
Yeah, out of position. We saw that, and he looked lost when he was in
because, off the ball, he's just lost.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. But go ahead.
But you can see the talent.
Oh, yeah.
You can see the talent, and that's what excites you about him.
And Durkin must have saw something to say, I think this guy can drop into coverage. And it was
I think Durkin just clearly is one of those guys that thinks he wants to be the cutest guy on the field, right? Like it's got to be scheme, not players.
Yeah, a little smirk of his.
Yeah, that little smirk of his. And so let's look at some of these linebacker defensive hybrids. Scylla, who showed some things last year coming off the edge. Anai White, who didn't get on the field much, but's another very athletic guy. Some of the freshmen. Kennedy, Sanford, that are coming in. But a guy that I thought started to show some things coming off the edge, Martrell Harris, who they got listed at linebacker, but really played more defensive end and rush end last year. 30? 40.
It's a big number there.
Yeah. And so
surprised he can wear that number at A&M.
He didn't line up off the ball linebacker at all last year. He was more of a defensive end rush guy. And I thought he ended up
that's what I like about
producing right there.
You need that speed. You need that speed on the outside.
Those guys, and especially look, if think about a defense where it almost looks like a 3-4.
Yeah.
Those defensive tackles and sort of D-tackle, D-end hybrids in the middle, 3 of them.
Yeah.
Some of these outside defensive end linebacker hybrids on the outside, but coming.
Right.
Not off the ball. Coming. Now you got 5 of these defensive linemen up there all ready to roll. Right? You can do it for pressure because those guys off the edge are going to get you some things.
I like that.
Or you could do it against the run, bring them in and coming off the ball and making sure
those D line just a little bit tighter.
Yeah.
Those gaps is where we got killed.
Take the gaps out.
Yes.
So the beauty of this is we've talked nothing but defensive line. That's 20 defensive linemen that we just listed right there.
Do we
20.
Keep them? We keep them all or not?
If you can keep them, right? If you can keep them. Because, and you're talking about 20, like high end, Silla, Turner, Hicks, Diggs, Overton, Nolan, Bruno Dindy, Jackson. These are names, high end.
Yeah.
High end SEC.
And we lost some high end names.
Yeah.
And we lost Adelie and we lost Judy. Right?
Yeah, and Judy both.
I mean,
that's not to mention Harris.
Yeah.
The other. So
and we were worried about those losses, but you just told me that name, and we're better this year.
Look, and you know what I think is key here? Some of these guys that we've talked about here, that sort of, especially not even the guys on the inside, but the guys on the outside, in White, in Overton, in Silla, the guys, maybe Diggs. Diggs, I think has been here a little long. But those guys that were young last year, Lucas, right, Stewart. Now think about those guys with a year of college lifting, college workouts, eating, getting fed. Right. All of a sudden, those guys are that twitch is going to start twitching a little bit better.
God, I hope so.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Defensive line, exciting.
Yes.
Super, super exciting.
We should be one of the tops in the nation, D-line.
Let's go to where the concerns lie on this defense.
So don't say linebacker.
Linebacker.
Ah, shit.
All right, right now, because I'm going to say that Kennedy, Sanford, and Harris are really almost defensive end hybrids.
Yeah.
We only have 4 linebackers. 4 true off-the-ball linebackers.
I'm only thinking
Cooper,
2.
Russell.
That's it.
And then the 2 freshmen, Johnson and York.
That's why I'm saying Cooper and Russell. And even Russell played a lot more than I thought he was going to play last year. I thought he was more of a...
Hey, look, he's the senior of the bunch.
Well, we didn't see White and Cooper on the field together very much at all last year like we thought we were going to. We thought we were going to see them after watching the spring game. And they were all over the place. We thought we were going to see them everywhere. And then we saw Cooper, what he could do towards the end of the season in his coverage. God, that guy could cover a receiver and cover a running back, a tight end. If they just let him do that.
You know what I would tell? I would tell Cooper, I was like, you see that running back?
Yeah.
Where he goes, you go.
Exactly.
Period.
Yeah.
He goes out on route, cover.
Got it.
If they hand him the ball, go tackle.
Yeah. Russell,
done.
Don't you cover anybody. You just stop the run.
Yeah. Russell should be run only.
Yeah.
He should be a run only player.
Seriously.
Every down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Put him in his gap.
Yeah.
Let him go.
Yep. Yeah.
And
that's what we started doing with White last year.
But the problem is that instead of that, they fall into the trap of following the motions. They fall into the traps of looking at all the misdirection. They fall into the trap of all those
something we talked about. We don't practice motion. We don't practice that stuff. So they're not used to seeing it.
That's true.
And so then they get to a game, they don't know how to react to it.
Well, you know what you tell them?
Jimbo, practice that.
You tell them, I don't really care what happens. Your guy is that key.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's it.
I got you.
Whatever happens around him, okay, what if he motions out? Running back motions out? That's fine.
They need a leader on that defense. They need a leader. I don't know who it's going to be. Somebody that speaks up.
Cooper can go with him and cover. Now my key
I'm just saying,
is the quarterback, right?
The safety or some linebacker position needs to be like the quarterback of the defense, and he needs to say that kind of stuff. What you're saying right there. Hey, you focus. That's your guy. You got that guy.
You see, on good defenses, you see somebody in the middle doing that kind of stuff.
You got a Ray Lewis
pointing
out there.
Yeah, pointing that stuff out.
Yeah.
Looking at everybody. You watch this Aggie defense, you never saw that.
No.
You never saw those guys
That's
pointing
what I'm
at
talking
and
about.
passing them forward, not chasing them. But just pointing them out so that the next guy sees them. Look, there's your guy, right?
Yeah, you see a guy in motion, you're sitting there pointing, and somebody's going to watch you point because they see your hand moving. What's he pointing at? Why the hell is he pointing over there? What's going on?
When those wide receivers and stuff go moving around, it should be that secondary. By the way, there's 5 guys in the secondary with this defense the majority of the time, if not 6. So those guys should be the ones adjusting to that. It shouldn't be these linebackers that need to focus in on stopping the freaking football. Right?
So,
linebacker depth is an issue for sure.
It was last year too.
Talent to a certain extent is an issue because Russell's not a real high-end linebacker.
Cooper has a high-end talent.
Cooper has a chance to be up there.
Put some weight and size on Cooper a little bit more. He has the speed, the instincts.
I don't even think you need to. I think all you got to do is simplify the game for him.
I think Cooper. I don't know what that guy's name is. That plays for Arizona Cardinals. He got drafted as a safety. They moved him down to linebacker. He plays all over the field. That's what I see Cooper as.
Clemson.
Yeah, he's all over the field though. He's amazing talent to watch him play.
Right.
I see Cooper like that.
I don't want to see Cooper like that. I want to see.
That's what I see.
I want to see him simplified.
Well, I'm just saying Cooper
because I don't want to see
our best cover guy on the damn field.
He might be, but that's my point. Like, give him one assignment, let him be really good at it. I don't want to see him thinking too much.
So I'm right here. I'm way up here on D line. Right here, about the same spot I was last year on linebackers, if not a little bit lower.
I'm probably a little bit lower on linebackers right now, just because we don't have any depth.
I'm just happy Cooper's coming back, to be honest with you.
But he's the key.
That might be a transfer guy, too, coming in, like we said.
He's the key. And there could be a transfer guy. We expect it, actually.
It needs to be.
All right, safety. 6 bodies in Anderson, Gilbert, Matthews, Kerr, and the 2 freshmen, Brooks and Rogers. Look.
Wait, did we ever hear anything finalized on Damani?
Yeah, I think Damani's.
Because I didn't know if we ever had a verdict on him.
I don't know that he's actually.
I mean, if Preston's coming back, Damani's got to have some kind of feeler that he's got to have like a 9th or 10th year.
I think in his head, he's an NFL player.
Oh, because he scored 2 touchdowns this year or something?
Probably.
Anyway, go ahead. So Gilbert, love him.
Gilbert, love him, right? He's going to be your deep safety. I think Anderson's the key.
Oh, that guy's sick.
Because I think that dude from year 1 to year 2 is going to become Antonio Johnson from year 1 to year 2.
Well, he made a lot of Antonio Johnson-esque plays last year. I mean, maybe not in the backfield so much, but just all over the field.
Man, I was so impressed with the guy. He's so instinctive in the way he does things.
Yeah.
I mean, and he gets to where he wants to go.
Yeah.
To me, he is the key for this. He is a big key for this defense because he's going to be that next level guy that for the secondary.
Right.
For that secondary, he's going to be that next level guy.
I'll tell you, Gilbert seemed to always be in the right place at the right time. He's kind of like Damani was picking up balls, but Gilbert was. He didn't get the hype that Damani got, but he was around.
Well, and he provided a very important aspect to this defense because he was that deep guy that sort of covered over the top a lot of times, covered up mistakes and things like that, right?
Yeah.
And so, he might not have always been right up in the action and up at the line and things like that, but he provided something very important for this defense. I think Anderson can also do that, by the way. I think he's a guy that's got the instincts and the speed to play over the top also. But those are probably your 2 guys. Matthew and Kerr played a lot in the box.
So are you calling Antonio a safety from last year and Damani?
Yeah.
So we lose both. So we got to have some kind of drop-off. You lose Antonio.
Yeah, I mean, you lose Antonio Johnson. I mean, there's going to be a drop-off.
Yeah.
I just saw was it
Kuiper?
It wasn't Kuiper. It was the other guy.
Yeah, I got you.
That did the draft.
They got him in the top 15?
And they got him in the first round.
Yeah.
So
he's
second safety off the board.
Second one now? Yeah. I thought he was the first one.
Well, he's in that mix, right?
I got you.
So, and I think he's that kind of player. I think he needs to be up there.
Yeah,
and we'll see where he ends up going, but that's the level of talent. Obviously, he's going to have to go through the running and all that stuff, the combine and everything else. But that's the level of talent you're trying to replace, so you're always going to take a step back there.
Yeah, we're taking a step back at linebacker and at safety. So the middle of our defense is going to be weaker this year.
And listen, that's it. You got two layers, right? It's a 2 deep. You got 6 players to play 3 spots.
Yeah.
So that it's not now.
You got Anderson, Gilbert. Who's your third starter? Kerr?
Matthews probably.
Matthews, okay, gotcha.
Matthews and Kerr in there.
14, was he number 14? Matthews,
yeah, and Kerr's going to get some time in there, right? He played a lot last year.
Was 33? Yeah.
He played a lot last year, so he's going to end up being a guy that gets plenty of playing time. But those guys are going to be the basis of that inside. That's those safety group, that
What are you basing this defense off on? A 3 or a 4? What, a 4-1, a 4-2, 5?
Let's say the 4-2-5 is base. Let's say the 4-2-5 is base.
4-2.
But here the thing is, and we played a lot of freshmen last year, so maybe it doesn't make a difference. But the two guys, Brooks and Rogers, obviously, are going to be guys that are going to have to get in and
they're going to get time. They're going to get playing time. I mean, we saw it last year, guys. Kerr, Matthews Jr., they all got
Anderson
playing time. Anderson, because people got hurt. People, there's depth issues. So
and targeting issues.
Jesus.
But then again, Richardson's gone, so maybe not.
Yeah.
So safety, though, I feel good about safety.
But we're taking a step back.
But we're taking a slight step back because of Antonio Johnson.
Okay.
We may be getting better, by the way, losing Richardson. More athletic, how about that?
Richardson.
More instinctive.
Richardson was very athletic, not very instinctive. He's lucky as hell.
Yeah.
Because they say, consistent luck is skill. I don't know about that.
He did end up making some big plays last year, obviously. But I do think we get more instinctive.
Right.
And that's not taking it. I love Damani.
Oh, that's my defensive player of the year. You haven't said his name yet. Go ahead next.
Cornerback.
That's it.
And here's where we've got 5 players. We may add another one in the transfer portal, but I love our first 2.
Yeah.
And let me be clear here. I love our first 2.
Good.
Chappelle,
Love it.
who, by the way, you know how much I love this kid.
That's my defensive player right there. That's the one I was.
That dude can play.
The way he gets up for a little guy and gets in the backfield, he can tackle.
Yeah.
That guy can tackle. Him and Anderson can tackle too. That's what I'm talking about.
And to me, they put him on because they brought him inside sometimes and let him play in the slot.
Yeah.
And he was even more aggressive, right? And then he made plays in the passing game. He'd come off of his guy, go make up. Like the dude just. I think he may be your best.
I like him.
Your best secondary guy.
He's got NFL written all over him, I think.
He's got NFL written all over. And then you had Grimes,
yeah.
who I think is probably the starter on the other side.
Have you watched some tape on him yet?
I've watched some.
Right.
I've watched some, and I do like him. And he's got obviously a great skill set. He's got a lot of physical talents, right?
He wasn't on a great North Carolina defense. They got scorched this year, but they had a great offense. So teams were trying to catch up. They were throwing the ball over the place, but yeah, he's good. You're going to like him.
And I think because of his pedigree and his experience, I mean, he was an all SEC type player last year at corner, right? I mean, I think he got voted in as a second
honorable mention or something. Yeah.
So he's a guy that has that experience, has played a ton. He's going to step right into that starting role on the other side.
He's going to be fine.
Yeah. I think a guy people are sleeping on is Deuce Harmon. Because Deuce Harmon, has over the last couple of years got time. He's gotten hurt a couple of times. He's got to stay healthy. But I think that dude can play.
Right.
And maybe it's a situation where he comes in and plays the slot. And now you're only playing 2 of those safeties at a time. Maybe you don't need the freshman to get as much playing time, right?
Right.
He's going to be a guy that really gives you some flexibility because of the fact that he's got some experience. He's played inside and out. And he's a physically gifted guy.
Right.
Add to that Taylor, who now
stays healthy.
He's got to stay healthy.
Right. That's a big key for the whole team.
That's a big key.
The whole team needs to stay healthy.
Health is going to be huge.
I can't believe how many players went down last year. Every time the whistle blew, it seemed like we lost.
You can't have that.
No, it's crazy.
But Taylor, when he got here, Bobby Taylor was everybody was ready to see this guy play.
Oh, you were huge on him.
And the injury obviously set him back from the beginning. But he finally got in the field just a little bit right there on the end just to give him a sniff of it, right?
He's got that name, Bobby Taylor. It just sounds like a great cornerback. Or a safety or something. Bobby Taylor. I don't know what it is.
He does.
Yeah.
Well, he
there used to be a guy that played for the Philadelphia Eagles named Taylor. I can't remember his name.
I think it's Bobby Taylor. And by the way, I think they're related.
I like it.
So, Bobby Taylor. And then Thomas, the freshman, coming in. He may get into the mix some. But let's hope
some playing time.
Let's hope he can get a little red shirt time.
Well,
you know what I mean? Defensively, we've just gone through it all.
Okay, where are you at on cornerbacks? Up or down from last year?
Up.
Even with the issues that we've lost players, gained some.
In spite of the depth.
We lost Smoke. We lost Harris or whoever it was.
Denver Harris, I think, is a huge loss.
So, but you lose those 2 guys.
Jalen Jones.
And we're going up. You lose Jalen Jones. We're going up.
You know my feeling about Jalen Jones. Jalen Jones should have been playing safety.
I'm just saying, you lose those players, and you're going up at cornerback.
We're going to be better in coverage. How about that?
Really?
I think Grimes is a better cover.
So
guy
we
than
have one of the
Jalen
best
Jones.
secondaries according to stats last year, basically because our running game, we couldn't stop the run.
Just run the football.
Where are you at on defense?
I think this defense is better this year.
Okay, offense is a lot better.
Now that's saying a lot considering I just told you we're losing Antonio Johnson and Jalen Jones, two guys that are probably getting drafted in this draft, right?
A couple defensive linemen, linebackers. Our defense is better.
Our defense, if DJ Dirk can take that smirk off his face, but I'm not going there. I think our defense has the potential because of the front line.
Yeah,
because of the huge improvements we're going to get at the front line.
Yeah,
I think this defense has a chance to be better.
So, saying all this,
yeah,
what you're saying, we haven't talked special teams at all.
No.
We'll talk that later. What are you thinking? I mean, our team, is it that much better? Is it like a 10-win better, or is it just
no?
Is it like
we've got a long ways to go, right? We've got a long ways to go. There's a lot to be seen from here to then. There's obviously.
I mean, I just like the feel. You said
this is what I'm telling you. This roster is still one of the most talented rosters in the country.
Yeah.
Especially if you look at
there's not many people who debate that. That's pretty much
1 and 2 deep.
Right.
One of the most talented. If you can go 1 deep, maybe the most talented roster in the country.
Oh, come here. Here's another slap.
Still very talented. That number 1 class of last year, even that if you take out the guys that have already left,
still up there.
Still would be number 1 from last year. It may be 2. Alabama was right there, or close enough that could make a difference. Gotcha. But they're in the mix for 1 and 2.
Gotcha.
You see what I'm saying?
No, I hear you.
We still have 6 5-stars in that group from last year, right? That are still here. The problem, like we talked about before, is depth. Depth. And what happens when these players, you get 24 of them into the transfer portal, what happens? Well, then you lose those guys that are supposed to be right now, that second group of guys that is going to fill in as, injuries happen, whatever, the game, whatever, right?
We're basically 2 deep at every position right now, which is solid. And we're 3 to 4 deep at defensive line and offensive line. So that's even more solid. I feel a lot better this year going in just because I know our offensive line can't be as bad as it was last year. I can't imagine our defensive line giving up 300.
Transfer portal, let me give you, this is the concern.
Yeah.
This year, 23 scholarship players out in the transfer portal. Last year, it was 12. We got 2 in last year. We got 1 in so far this year.
We got Max Johnson. Who was the second guy in last year?
That's 35 out, 3 in.
Yeah.
That is the scary part to me.
Yeah.
And so he's got a lot of work to do in the next couple of weeks because he needs to hit that transfer portal. Go get us a linebacker.
That's the one thing I don't worry about with Jimbo. That's one thing he does do. He's good at filling holes, getting talent. And I'm not worried about that with him. I'm worried more about the X's and O's. That's what I'm worried about.
And that's a show for another day.
Yeah.
But to cap this conversation about this roster, let me say this, and let me say it as clear as it possibly can. Aggies have a lot of good things to look forward to with this roster because there is a ton of top-end talent on this roster. A ton.
NFL players. We're talking
NFL players.
Yeah. Offensive line has NFL players.
This could be a huge turnaround year.
We got maybe 2 or 3 guys, maybe 4 guys on offensive line to go pro one day.
So Aggies need to. Right now they're jumping off a bridge. Put the parachute on, man.
Tight end.
Put the parachute on.
Are you hearing me?
I do hear you.
We've got like 4 or 5 offensive linemen that might go pro one day. A tight end or 2 that might go pro.
In the next 10 years?
A tight end that might go pro. A quarterback. A couple of wide receivers. I mean, are you hearing this?
Oh, yeah. That's my point.
Then what did you say Florida State had when they won the national championship?
22. Questions from the tailgate brought to you by David Coffin PLLC, Tax Controversy and Litigation Lawyers, the only tax controversy and litigation lawyers here in BCS. Corey.
Yep.
First question from the tailgate. Most important position in the transfer portal for the Aggies?
Linebacker.
Hands down.
Easy.
Wide receiver, cornerback, you're throwing those out.
No, I mean, I'm not throwing them out. If they want to come, they can come. But linebacker is the most important position. Just depth, what you said. We have Cooper and Russell. You got two freshmen.
We need another real player.
And it depends on Max Johnson. If he goes, and
it's still linebacker if Max Johnson goes.
Yeah, just because quarterback, the only reason you're changing him out if he gets hurt, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
I'll take Boast.
Shut the fuck up.
You're right. Linebacker, it is linebacker. With one, because we've already got Grimes. If we didn't have Grimes, it may be corner.
Yeah.
But with Grimes on campus, I think cornerback takes a step back, probably behind wide receiver and linebacker, by the way. Yeah. Because the numbers alone at wide receiver are scary.
Yeah, they are. But I don't feel as worried about wide receivers because I think our tight end room is deep, and it might force us to do 2 tight ends on the field, like you said. Our running backs, we have 3 to 4 running backs that we can put on the field.
At least 2 of those guys can go run some routes and catch some passes.
I mean, we saw it with Anias, and we still don't know what Anias is doing, so you might be a little bit more depth.
Right.
And like I said, I think we're going to get not one of the top-notch wide receivers, but somebody that's going to make a difference and can catch the ball and
take some reps.
Move the chains. Yeah.
And that's a great point. Linebacker number 1 then. All right, number 2. Changes to the defensive scheme. What do you think?
It's got to happen.
Will they happen?
It's got to happen. It's not will they. They have to happen. If Jimbo has to watch the tape from last year and go, I am an idiot for letting this keep happening over and over and over again.
Forget watch the tape from last year. Jimbo's got to look at the roster.
You can watch our podcast.
He's got to look at the roster and say, well, I've got 20 defensive linemen, of which 10 at least are high 4 stars and 5 stars.
10 of them are probably going to play pro.
And we've got 1 linebacker and like 6 secondary guys. So what should we put out? He's got to say that, right?
Well, if he runs a 3-man front, he doesn't have the linebackers to put back there. I mean, it's just a math game. What do you do? Oh, I don't have the linebackers, but we're still going with a 3-man front. You can't do it.
Can't do it.
It's just, come on.
Last year he did. He went 3-1-7 or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, it's stupid.
And it was horrible.
It's retarded.
Let me give you a couple of things. No 3-down linemen at all.
Right.
Period. Get rid of that. Throw it out of your playbook. Tear it out.
Go 5 if you have to, not 3.
More man coverage.
Yeah.
Let those guys on the outside, those athletes on the outside.
We said that last year, damn it. And that pisses me off. We said, let's get after it.
And along with that, let the linebackers just go.
Yeah.
Just go. Don't worry about all that crap on the outside.
When does a quarterback make mistakes? Does he make mistakes when he has all the time in the world to throw the ball?
When he's sitting there with 3 men rushing and he can basically sit down for a minute, take a look around.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's not when he makes mistakes.
Exactly.
More man coverage, more pressure. And be aggressive.
Yeah.
You said it. I want to see more 5-down lineman packages than 3-down lineman packages. You know, go in, do a 5-2-4, do a 5-3-3,
do the unexpected, right? Kick on 3rd down.
Don't do that.
There you go, Phil.
Don't do that. You know, you're basing that on a 4-2-5. Bring that next level.
Yeah.
Bring it in with 5 D linemen.
I love it. And
then, on occasion, when you know they're throwing the football, go NASCAR. What does NASCAR mean?
What's that?
Put McKinley Jackson in the middle and throw nothing but defensive ends around him and linebackers that are going to go rush the quarterback. Forget Russell. Take him out of there.
Are you calling Turner a defensive end? Are you calling Stewart a defensive end?
Yeah, I am. So I'm talking about a package maybe with Jackson, Overton, Diggs, Silla, Harris.
I mean, I like Jackson there,
Cooper.
but I would put Turner and Stewart in it to D tackles, put Diggs on the outside and Harris out there. Because you said that guy Harris, what does he do? What's he built for?
Martrell Harris. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. Put
Bring
Harris
him on the outside.
Put Stewart and Turner
but I might put Stewart inside with McKinley because I think McKinley disrupts.
Because the only problem you got to worry about is their lanes. Because what they did last year, they spread out around. That quarterback would just run right up the middle.
And that's why I want McKinley right in the middle.
Yeah, I got you.
You see what I'm saying?
I feel you. Yeah, I'm picking you up now.
But I'm talking fast off the edge guys coming from everywhere.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. Giga Maggies, AP, Corey, signing out.
Holla.
On the tailgate.